I managed out in the boat only 3 times during March. I didn't take video cameras, but took these photos by phone camera on the best of these days. However, they were one-off days. The following days were back to strong winds and rain. Then finally my patience paid off, and 2 successive days appeared in the weather forecasts. I made the most of these 2 days, and loaded up the boat with camping gear. I was heading for the promised land for an overnight stay. I was travelling light with the sleeping bag, kit and tent packed in a black plastic bin behind the seat, and my food cooking gear and cameras in the blue plastic bin under the bow canopy. Even then I knew I'd be at displacement speeds to the promised land. Drinking water, a pack of Guinness cans and dry kindling to start a fire made sure I'd be wasting fuel trying to get the small F-rib on the plane. Zooming in on the distant mountain top of Ben Starov, I could see another fresh dusting of snow on the summit, and also on the tops of the Glencoe Mountains. It was still very cold, but a gentle wind from the west made the recent wind chill a bit warmer. The forecast was for no rain this day, although the wind was strengthened and come out the east again during the night, bringing rain back the following afternoon. Not that it bothered me, as I planned on only one night under canvas, and home again before the rain started. There was still no greenery to the scenery, but I was looking forward to watching the trees slowly waken from their winter slumber during the month of April. I was delighted to see the coos were down at Caddersley, well away from my campsite. And then I was there. The sight of a wee out-the-way bay made me feel like I was on holiday again. I immediately unpacked the boat and then set up my Helix chair. I'd not sat in its seat since last year and was keen to try it out again. It took a few moments longer to assemble since then, as I'd forgotten its mysterious ways, but it didn't take me that long. Then it was time for my favourite pastime, sitting slurping coffee from a flask, while admiring the views and listening to the silence of the scenery. It felt great to be back. Then it was time to put up the tent. I was using the Vango Banshee 300, which, like me, is getting on in its years. Possibly 10 years old now and still going strong. I have erected it that many times in the past, there was no way I was forgetting how to put it up, and it was assembled in jig time. I then installed the sleeping kit. It's still bitter cold out, so to insulate me from the ground, I sleep in a 10 centimetre thick air mat, placed inside a cheap 2-season sleeping bag. My main sleeping bag is a duck-down 4-season bag with a thermal inner sheet. I've never been cold using this setup, even on very frosty nights. With camp set up, I then settled down to a well-deserved Guinness to celebrate being back. As I slowly slurped, I watched the clouds passing by. For me, it has been a long, hard winter this year, but it was now forgotten that I was back in the promised land. I then busied myself with stacking driftwood around a rock, in the hope the wind would dry it out a little. It was very wet wood. Next, I let the drone loose for a look around. It was as happy as me to be back in familiar skies. And once the drone returned, I continued clearing an area in the seaweed to start building my fire. Plenty logs to the base and back, which shelters the actual fire, and also dries the wood out as the fire burns. Now tired out, I rested for an hour, playing with a piece of hardwood. I found a little man inside it, and I wanted it for my driftwood floor lamp, which is now finished and can be seen at the end of this video. The cold then started to get to me, so I decided to clamber back into the boat and look for more driftwood. I knew it would be a long, cold evening and wanted a decent fire to warm my weary bones. I landed a couple of times to collect wood on the way to the end of the loch. It was cold but pleasant in the boat as the wind disappeared completely. The drone also enjoyed the journey after its winter hibernation, and this is what it saw. Having collected enough wood and seen enough cold scenery, I headed back to camp, getting caught in a heavy shower of rain on the way, although it wasn't enough to dampen my spirits. And then the sun came out again. To work up an appetite for my dinner, I took a walk along the river bank. It also warmed me up in the now late afternoon sun. The promised land was looking its best on this late March day. Then it was time to settle down for dinner. I had brought some chili con carne I had cooked at home the night before, so it only needed heating up. I thoroughly enjoyed the dish, then washed it down with a tin of gravy, as I thought life is perfect. Then it was time to turn the heating up. I brought some dry kindling with me to help get the damp driftwood going. I used the black whistle farm boy to stop sparks blowing onto the dead bracken behind me. It's quite dry and would soon start a wild fire if I wasn't careful. The wood smoked a bit as it started to burn, but burn it did. I then settled down to scoff the rest of my gallon of Guinness that I'd brought. Smoky fires always make me thirsty. I then enjoyed drinking in the solitude of the scenery as I watched time fly by, as I enjoyed the heat from the fire. As the sun went down, I sat warm and toasty beside the fire, watching the moon come up. An hour or so later, I staggered off to bed a happy man, delighted the fire had done its job keeping me warm as I slept. I enjoyed a restful night. Then the morning brought no surprises. It was overcast and cold. The forecast was for the winds to rise mid-morning and then rain to return in the afternoon. I packed up camp and headed off. Sure enough, winter was once again descending in the promised land, and I was heading for home as fast as the boat would go. With wind and waves in its tail, it helped get on the plain. I didn't mind, as I just a glimpse of what the better weather will bring, and enjoyed my first camp of the new year. Back home, I finished the wood carving for floor light I was making from a lovely piece of driftwood I found on the shore. This is a finished article, and making it brought me a bit of light in the darker winter days. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.